We're going to look at these chords, and we're going to look at some rules between these chords as well. And I'm going to tell you, out of the three classes that we can have, what class of triad are we getting? I'm going to go chord 1. Now, as I go through these, there's going to be some weak chord changes and there's going to be strong chord changes. Basically, the 1 chord can go to any chord because it's the tonic. It makes sense that it can go to any chord. The 1 chord can go to any chord. And if I was to demonstrate that on the guitar, if I'm in the key of C, so I can go from chord 1 to chord 2, which was D minor. I could go from chord 1 to E minor, which is chord 3. I can go from chord 1, which is the C, to chord 4. It's the F chord there. And then I can go from the C chord, chord 1, to chord G, chord 5, G. Okay, so we can go there. I can go from the C to the A minor. And these all work, guys. You can hear. I can go from the C chord to even. I'm going to play it as a minor 7 flat 5. You can hear that it creates a bit more tension, but there's a reason for that. And you can hear that that's the home chord. But if you go from any of those chords from that diminished, and you can really hear the leading note chord there that's happening. You can hear that note as it goes up there. T, do. Hopefully you can hear that, okay? Now, like I say, chord 1 can go to any chord, but what we've got to do is we've got to go systematically through all of the chords, and then we switch to the next one is chord 2. Now, chord 2, which is the D minor in C major, it prefers to move to chord 5, and I'd say chord 4, right? Those are strong sounding chords. If we went to chord 1, that chord 1 is weak. It's a weak change, yeah? So you'll find that some of these changes are stronger and some of them are weaker. Let me just play that for you. So we've got D minor. Can you hear how that wants to connect there? 2, 5, okay? And I'm avoiding the temptation to go to the 1 because that's where the 5 wants to go to. Now, hopefully you can hear this tension between the chords, or the release between the chords, the movement. Okay, so we've got this 2. Okay. To the 5 there. D minor to F. Not as strong as going to the 5. Okay. But if I went from D minor to C, okay, there's a reason that sounds a little bit weaker. There's a stronger way to play that. What we need to do is we need to tie in this relationship here between these three classes. Now, we know the 1 chord is a tonic chord. Now, what class is the 2 chord? We have to have a class for the 2 chord. And the 2 chord is a subdominant as part of the class. So you could switch between these. So really, this is a going somewhere chord. That's what we can think of it as. It's en route to some other chord. So this is the subdominant. This is one of those 3 classes. Like I said to you, we've got tonic, subdominant, and dominant. We're creating those there. Right, now the 3 chord. Let's look at the 3 chord as well. The 3 chord, it's a weak chord, but it can be strong. It's really, really weird. What this wants to do is move to a 6 chord. Now, like I say, the caveat I'm putting in here, these are basically the rules of harmonic chord changes. And they're kind of like chess moves. So this is what we're doing. Look, 5, 1, and 4, they're your primary triads. They're going to be really strong sounding chords. And if you do a 1, 4, 5, you look at all the rock and roll, 1, 4, and 5. You've got a starting chord, a going somewhere chord, and a ending up somewhere chord to create some tension that means you need to go back to your 1 chord that gives it that release. This is pretty much how it all works, guys. So the 3 chord, let's get back to this 3 chord. It wants to go to the 6 here. I'm putting in these weak chords as well. Because of the 3 chord being a kind of a weaker chord, we're going to think of that as being a tonic. So it belongs in the tonic class. So you want to write a song and you think to yourself, I don't want to go to the 1 chord. You could go to a tonic class chord. The 3, it will suffice. It'll do the job. You see, if we go to the 1 after, or this 7, those guys are weak sounds as well. 3 to the 6, E minor to A minor. You're going to come across that change so much, yeah? Because that's the standard sort of maneuver for the 3 chord. Yeah, like I say, the 1 chord and the 7 chord, they're a bit weak, but that's almost gives you a tonic class sounding chord. Now, I'm practicing those changes. It's going to come up all the time. So focusing on the things that things that you need to play the songs. Yeah, so just doing that. Now, 3 chord, E minor to A minor. You're going to come across that change so much, yeah? Because that's the standard sort of maneuver for the 3 chord. Yeah, like I say, the 1 chord and the 7 chord, they're a bit weak, but that's almost gives you a tonic class sounding chord. Now, the 4 chord, right? So the 4 chord, it likes to move to 1, it likes to move to 5, and it likes to move to 6. So it basically can move to any chord, pretty much, but these are the ones that you want to practice the change. So that's going to be an F to a C, F to a G, F to an A minor. Let's just play those. If you look in here and you're thinking, well, how's he getting his name of his chords? Just scoot your eyes over here and have a look. So we're going to have an F to a 1. Now that's a cadence, but I'm going to come back to that one. But let me go from an F to a G. Okay? We're traveling. Can you hear it? It needs to go somewhere else. Generally to the 1. Yeah? If I go from the F to the A minor. Okay? The F to the A minor there you can hear. And then can you hear how it works? It wants to go back there. Now I kind of think of this as being the true subdominant, because like I said before, when we looked at this business here, sub-dom. Now, the 5 chord. The 5 chord, which is the most wonderful chord, I think, because of how much you can do with it. The 5 chord, it wants to move to 1, which we've kind of already heard. It wants to move to 4, and it will move to 6. So these two basically do similar things. And that ties me into this middle of this little vortex. But this is where it gets a bit different, because even though that is the chord 4 is the subdominant, when we're thinking about it, how it interacts with the 5, I might be thinking to myself, I can do dominant style things with that one. So here is the dominant. These are the dominants just here. So chord 5 to chord 1. So we're going to go 5. That is a cadence. Yeah, I'm going to get to the cadences. I'm going to explain the cadences and their names. Okay. If I go from the 5, which is this G, to the F, yeah, the G. Can you hear the tension in that? That's the heart melting moment where something is happening there on that 5 chord to the 6 chord. There is tension moving between those two. Now we're going to have chord 6, likes to go to 5, likes 4, and it also likes 2, but it's a tonic class chord out of those 3 classes. Let's play through this. Tonic, it should sound fairly relaxed, okay? Because it's a tonic sound. Not much tension there at all, is there? Going from the A minor to the 4 chord. Stable. Yeah, and going from the A minor to the D minor. And this sounds so close to each other, to the 4 and the 2. Listen. So close to each other because of the notes that they share. We can't leave without addressing Wobbly Bob. Remember what I said about Wobbly Bob? Really, the way I see Wobbly Bob is it wants to go to 1 because the 7 chord is a dominant class sound. Yeah, and this is why it creates that tension, chord 7 to chord 1. You can switch these out as well. So if you think about it, 5-1, chord 7, resolving. Okay, so it's got this resolving feeling to it. There's your chord 7, the chord 1. Okay. Yeah, so really it gives you that movement. And that's the way we want to look at it, guys. Now, there are other ways that we can practice this. And I often hear people say, practice your chords using the circle of fifths. But the circle of fifths, if you follow the circle of fifths, then what it does is it takes you through all 12 keys. But you really want to master practicing all the chords in one key first, okay? Keep to a key. So if I come here, draw this on here, and I'm going to show you. This is for all keys. This is for all keys, guys. So we've got chord 1. This is the magic number. Now, I know the magic number, I usually say it as 6, 2, 5, 1, 4, 7, 3, okay? Which is what the thumbnail is all about. And when you play through this, you will hear the next chord that you might be after if you are writing a song. So we've got another circle, and this is basically we're going round in the key. This is something that you need to practice. I'm going to play through these and you're going to watch, and I'll tell you the names of the chords. So go chord 1, chord 4, chord 7, chord 3, chord 6, chord 2, chord 5, chord 1. Can you hear that? Can you hear how those work? It takes me all the way back round. So this is a great little exercise for practicing changing your chords. Now you could do it using the grid. You could do it using the grid, because the grid is transposable. I was just showing you that there in the key of C. Say we wanted it in the key of G. Chord 1, chord 4, yes, chord 7, I'm going to put it down here, and I'm going to put chord 3 here. Yeah, it's a bit cumbersome, that shift there. We could have had it there. We could have chord 6 here. We're going to have chord 2 here. We're going to have chord 5 here. And we're going to have chord 1 here. Chord 1, chord 4, chord 5, chord 2, chord 3, chord 6. Chord 7's there, or it's there. And that's in the book. The L7 grid is in the book. So this is a really good exercise. If you practice this in all 12 keys, then you will conquer your chord changes. Notice I've not added any pitch from here. I've just left it as Roman numerals. But what we can do is, if you wanted to, you can think to yourself, okay, well, that's a tonic. This is a subdominant. 7 is a dominant. All right, we've got 3, which is a tonic. We've got 6, which is a tonic sound. We've got 2, which is a subdominant. We've got 5, which is a dominant sound. So you can see that you've got all these sounds, and you can think to yourself, well, look, if we want to create some drama, I'll start on a C and I go to a subdominant. You don't always have to go through the 7. You can switcheroo and think to yourself, I don't want that dominant. Let's use that dominant instead. So I'll go 1, 4, 5. Cool. Okay, when I go after the dominant, right, then really that wants to go to a tonic, but I don't want to go to chord 1. Let's go to A minor, or let's go to E minor. We could think about it in that way as well. So it's a cool little tool to help you to write your chord progressions. The interesting thing comes back to the word cadence. Like I say, to fall. So cadence means to fall down. If we think about the 7 chord, so I've got my 7 chord here. I'm in the key of G. Can you hear that the sound itself, it falls, so you go ba, ba, and the movement goes down. However, if I come from the 7 chord below the tonic, it's not as strong. Can you hear that it's not as strong? Does it make sense? It still works. You've still got the T, Do, yeah? T, Do. Yeah, that's That's what we're listening for. Sing it right, Ricky. It's a bit below my range.